Good morning. Okay. Talking about the significance of 5th September, all of us know that it is celebrated as Teachers' Day, and since 1994, Teachers' Day has been celebrated all over the world. And in India, we had a very, very eminent teacher, philosopher, an administrator, great orator, Dr. Radhakrishnan, and so it was his birthday, and that is why September 5th is considered very important, and it symbolizes a whole era of teaching and the fundamental things of teaching which Dr. Radhakrishnan valued the most. So Teachers' Day is celebrated in all the schools, but for me it's not just this one day which is important, because teaching is on the whole one of the most important professions in the world, and teachers are the most valued people in this world, which most teachers do not know, and they're all the time cribbing about that they are just a teacher, but they just don't realize that how many professionals they're producing every day, and people who go to Harvard, Stanford, Cambridge, these are the products from schools. And how did they become such eminent people? It's because of the kind of teachers that they had. And you see many of them acknowledging they always say when they receive their certificates at these big universities, they always acknowledge their kindergarten teacher or their high school teacher, and they say that what they are today is because of their teachers. So teachers play a very, very important role in everybody's lives, and I think teachers have to be proud of their profession rather than say, of course, I agree that the pay is not very good, and but eventually society will realize one day that they have to be on par with any other profession, because these are the makers of people's personalities, and they can undo a child, they can make a child, they can create a child, they can make a child creative as well as they can destroy a child. So everything is in their hands, and if they realize how important their roles are in the lives of children, I don't think they have any reason to really grumble about their profession. And moreover, I always keep telling them that as a teacher, they're doing a lot of social service right from the beginning. Every other profession, once they retire, people want to do a lot of social service, but then teachers are doing it right from the time they become teachers, because they are contributing so much to society. And as I said, that every professional today has had a teacher behind him. So it's a very significant day today, and I wish all the teachers a very happy life and a very contented life, and I would like them to make themselves indispensable in society. Now, talking about the latest developments in the field of teaching, in the last 10 years there have been a lot of changes, and rightly so, because today teaching and learning have taken two different dimensions. Earlier, the teacher's role was very different in a classroom, but today it has to be different, because the students are different today. The kind of students that we used to get in the past, especially when I was a teacher, it was so easy, I felt, to go to a classroom and teach them, because they had this attitude of honoring a teacher, almost sort of looking with awe at a teacher. But today it's completely changed. The attitude of the students also have changed, because they are now exposed to so much of media. They get all the information from the media, and so a teacher's role is very, very different today. So there have been a lot of developments in the field of teaching, especially now it is a holistic curriculum that has been designed in schools, and a number of publishers like Oxford University Press and Cambridge University Press have come up with very, very interesting books for students. I'm talking, my knowledge is restricted only to English, because I'm basically an English teacher. The kind of the communicative kind of methodology that is being introduced in the classroom is very, very interesting for the students, and it's very important to keep their interests alive in the classroom, because, as I said, the knowledge is something which students get very easily today. And so the teacher's role also has changed, which NCERT has recognized, and so they have come up with something called CCE, where there is a regular evaluation of the student right through the year, not only in terms of his studies, his achievement in studies, but also his extracurricular activities, his attitude in the classroom, and many other things. And I think it's very, very important. And another thing that teachers have to realize today, or the things that are happening in the field of teaching, is that IQ is no longer that important, because IQ, as I said, anybody can develop because of the enormous knowledge that one gets from the TV. But what is very, very important is EQ, and that is emotional quotient, because today the world is becoming a very difficult place to live in. There's so much of rat race, there's so much of competition, and people are vying with each other. There is jealousy, there is rancor, there is the desire to the one-manship, and so upmanship. And so what is important for a teacher in a classroom is to develop this emotional intelligence in the children, and she can do it because the textbooks today provide for that kind of a teaching because the textbook actually can be easily studied or learnt by the students on their own, especially because they've got also very well-read parents at home. But what is important, but the parents do not have the time for students today, and so it's the role of the teacher to develop this emotional intelligence in the child. And emotional intelligence means that a child has to learn a sense of empathy, compassion, the ability to mix with everybody freely, not to and to share things with people. And these are the things that are very essential in schools today, because we teachers need to produce good human beings, good citizens, and not intelligent human beings, because as I said, intelligence is something which can be developed by children through the internet, but not emotional intelligence. And another thing is teacher training also now has to change. The kind of teacher training that we had was very conventional and very old-fashioned. Today teachers have to be trained to tackle students who are of a different level in terms of their in terms of their exposure to the media, and in terms of their attitude towards people in society. And so teachers have to interact with the students in the classroom as much as they can, and try to understand the students, try to give them a lot of compassion and empathy, and try to win over them. And rather than commenting on their aggressiveness, and why students are aggressive is also because the society is aggressive, and so it's up to the teacher who can mold the child to his way of thinking. So teachers today have a tremendous responsibility. It was very easy for people like us when we were teaching, but today teachers have a very major role to play, and teacher training has to inculcate all these values in our teachers. Then another very important thing that's happening in our society today is in the human rights angle in schools. I think every child has a right to get his share of knowledge in schools. Earlier, a lot of children, because of their socio-economic background, were deprived of good education. But today, because of this new awareness which has risen, children are getting an equal chance to acquire knowledge to acquire schooling. To acquire education in schools. And a lot of it's very interesting to see that a lot of young people have given up their very lucrative jobs and turned towards teaching. They've started joining NGOs and running schools because they realize how important education is for the deprived people of our society. Now, what is very important today is a collective conscience has to develop amongst everybody in society. It's not just the teachers and the students, but it is the whole society has to take part in a child's education, because it is that's what I called it, a holistic kind of an education that students have to be given today. I just want to end what I have to say by reading out something from an excerpt from The Heart of a Teacher by Paula J. Fox. I think it's an excellent book it's called The Heart of a Teacher, and it would be very useful for teachers to keep this in mind when they go to their classroom. This is just one of the last quotations that I want to read out, and it is, 100 years from now, it will not matter what my bank account is, what my bank account was, the sort of house I lived in, or the kind of car I drove. But the world may be different because I was important in the life of a child. I think if all teachers realize this, teaching will take a totally different turn.